All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most impactful ways you can get a handle on your cloud costs, right sizing. It's a really simple idea, but it has the power to unlock some serious savings.
Now, before we really get going, we've got to do the standard disclaimer for this tutorial series. So this is module 14 of a 20-module tutorial, and it's all based on a comprehensive report by Virtualization Options LLC. Just a heads up, this offers only general guidance, it's provided without warranty, and it's definitely not legal or financial advice. So we always recommend that you discuss any actions you're thinking about taking with your own financial and legal professionals. In this module, we're going to focus just on the chapter that covers right sizing.
Okay, let's dive right in by looking at a problem that is so common, it's practically invisible. But man, is it silently draining cloud budgets everywhere. And that problem is over-provisioning. I want you to think about this for a second. Are your cloud resources oversized? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer, well, that answer often reveals a massive, and I mean massive, opportunity for savings. For most organizations, if they're being really honest, the answer is probably yes.
So why does this even happen? Well, most of the time, teams pretty much have to guess what their capacity needs are going to be. They make an estimate, they throw in a big safety margin, just in case, and then they never look back. They end up planning for some theoretical peak load that might only happen for a few hours a month, but they pay for that peak capacity 24/7. And check this out. This is the real kicker. We're not talking about a few percentage points here. By right-sizing your compute resources, you can typically see savings between 30 and 50%. And the best part? You can usually do this with absolutely zero negative impact on performance.
So, if over-provisioning is the problem, what's the solution? Well, that's where this smart, data-driven practice called right sizing comes in. It's all about moving from that old guesswork to a much more intelligent approach.
Okay, and this is super important to understand. Right sizing is not about starving your applications for resources. It's not about cutting corners and just hoping for the best. It's all about precision. It's about looking at your actual needs and paying only for the capacity you genuinely use. And this slide, it just lays it out perfectly, right? It shows that huge shift in thinking. On one hand, you've got the old way. It's all based on fear and guesswork, and it just leads to waste. But on the other hand, you've got the right-sized approach. It's based on data, on reality, and that leads to efficiency and real savings. It's about being deliberate.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? Let's break it down into a practical, step-by-step process you can follow. This isn't just theory. It's a repeatable playbook for getting your resources optimized.
And don't worry, this isn't some super complex, heavy operation. At its heart, it's a really logical 5-step cycle. It takes the idea of right-sizing and makes it a real, practical thing any team can do. So let's walk through each one.
First things first, you need data. You've probably heard this a million times, but it's so true here. You can't optimize what you don't measure. The whole process kicks off with just understanding what your resources are actually doing over time.
So what are we measuring? We're talking about the big ones: CPU, memory, network usage, that kind of stuff. And here's the key. A few days of data just won't cut it. You need to look at this over a real stretch of time, at least 2 weeks, but honestly, a month or more is even better. That's how you spot the real patterns: the peaks, the valleys, the normal everyday load.
Okay, so now you've got all this great data. What do you do with it? Well, now you can start hunting for the best candidates for optimization. And you don't have to resize everything all at once. Seriously, think about the 80-20 rule here. You want to focus your effort where it's going to have the biggest financial impact. So you're looking for those expensive resources that are just sitting there, consistently showing low usage. Bam, those are your prime targets. All right, now for the fun part. We get to the core of it, actually picking a new, more efficient resource size based on all that data you just gathered. The goal is to find that sweet spot, right? You pick a size that can totally handle your peak usage that you saw in the data, and then you add a little safety buffer, maybe 10 to 20%. But this is also a great time to ask another question. Are we even using the right type of instance? I mean, are you paying a premium for a memory-optimized machine when your app is really all about CPU? Making sure the instance family matches the workload, that's a huge part of this step.
Okay, listen up, because this next step is absolutely 100% critical. You can't skip it. Before you push any of these changes to your live production environment, you have got to test.
I'm gonna say it again. Always,
Always make these changes in a non-production or test environment first. You're just trying to prove that performance is still totally fine under load. This simple step is what prevents a great cost-saving idea from turning into a nightmare for your customers.
All right, so you've made the change in production. You're done, right? Not quite. The job isn't over just yet. You need to keep a close eye on things to make sure the change was a success.
Yeah, this last step really closes the loop on the whole process. You're watching those key performance metrics for at least a week just to catch anything weird. You're ready to bump the size back up if you need to. And of course, you double check that you're actually getting the cost savings you expected.
So we have this awesome 5-step process, but let's talk about the final piece of the puzzle, and honestly, it might be the most important part: getting into a continuous mindset. This can't be just a one-time fix.
And don't forget, this whole way of thinking applies to way more than just your compute instances. You can right-size your storage, move old data that nobody touches to cheaper tiers. You can use stuff like auto-scaling to let the cloud dynamically right-size for you in real time. This data-driven approach works across your entire cloud footprint.
If there's one thing you remember from this, let it be this quote: your apps change, your usage patterns change, and the cloud providers are always releasing new, better instance types. Because of all that, right-sizing has to be an ongoing process. Making it a habit to review things maybe once a quarter is a fantastic practice to make sure you're not wasting money.
So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. What's the first resource your team could right-size this week? Seriously, the best way to get started is just to start small. Pick one thing, go through the process, and show the value. That's how you build momentum and really start your journey to a much more cost-efficient cloud.